right, one more passage from Professor Lewis. Are we sad this is coming to an end? I am. If there was a controlling power outside the universe, it could not show itself to us as one of the facts inside the universe. No more than an architect of a house could actually be a wall or a staircase or a fireplace in that house. The only way in which it could expect to show itself would be inside of ourselves as an influence or a command, trying to get us to behave in a certain way. And that is just what we do find inside ourselves. And surely this ought to arouse suspicion. So what Lewis is saying here is this, is that we can discern through our observations and our capacity for reason, we can discern the orderliness, the stability, the predictability of the world that we inhabit. We can see that the things around us behave in the way that they do because they are bounded by natural laws. Things happen in a particular way because of the natural laws that govern the ways that things behave. But what Lewis is saying here is that the reason, or the cause, might be the better word, the cause of the universe having this orderly, stable predictability is that it was created by something that is itself the ultimate source of order, stability, and predictability, what the Greeks might call the logos, this kind of supernatural, kind of divine mind that gives rise to all of the things that exist in our universe and creates all of the laws as a reflection of its divine rationality, creates all of the laws that create this orderly, stable, predictable world that we live in. And what Lewis is saying here is that we have inside us this voice, maybe call it conscience. We have this voice that seems to speak to us, and we have a really difficult time shutting it off if we're a normal, healthy person. And this voice is trying to get us to do certain things and avoid doing other kinds of things. And this voice is not something that's coming from without and imposing itself on us as we go about our daily lives. This is a voice that's coming from within. It just seems to be a part of our natures. It seems to be a part of our human nature. Lewis is saying. Now think about this as it relates to one of the questions I asked you to think about in your thought primer. I gave you some pairs of concepts, right? Things like disintegrated and integrated, disconnected versus connected, disease versus ease, disunified versus unified. And I asked you, when you think about these pairs of terms, is one of the terms inherently or intrinsically more desirable or of more value than the other term? Okay? So when I think about the state of being disintegrated or the state of being integrated, is one of those preferable to the other? And we might say something like, well, if we're talking about a terrorist group, I'd rather that group be disintegrated rather than integrated because they are a bigger threat if they're integrated or if they're unified rather than disunified. And that's true, but we're probably saying that because ultimately we recognize the threat that an integrated terrorist group or a unified terrorist group poses is itself a threat to a greater unity. And so we want in a sort of paradoxical way, we prefer that the terrorist group be disunified and disintegrated, dismembered, decomposed, disconnected, because that's ultimately going to allow us to achieve greater states of unity. That disintegration and disunity, these were eliminating the obstacles that unity would ordinarily provide in that circumstance. Now, you might think about how this relates to an assertion that a natural law theorist is going to make. Okay, they're going to come forward and they're going to say this: if fundamental reality is complete, undivided, unified being, which is typically what we mean by the word God, then that which promotes or increases unity, connection, completeness, and integration is good. And that which promotes disunity, disconnection, incompleteness, and disintegration is bad. So I want you to think about that for a moment, right? Is that the case, that that which promotes unity and integration is inherently better than those things that promote disunity and disintegration? And again, keeping in mind that sometimes we're going to want things that are disconnected. Like I gave you the example of the toaster. If you're getting electrocuted by the toaster, disconnecting that toaster from the power source is what is preferred. It is what's most valuable. But again, think about it. Why is that? Well, it's because me being electrocuted by the toaster is creating a tremendous amount of disunity. So in order to create that disunity and get back to having a unified body, we have to disconnect that toaster. So disconnection is preferable in this case because it eliminates an obstacle that was preventing us from achieving a greater degree of unity.